Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. In his 1998 groundbreaking book, The Threat, Dr. David M. Jacobs, a professor at Temple University in Pennsylvania, presented his findings of the alien abduction phenomenon after interviewing hundreds of alien abductees. Now, this book, if you don't have it in your library and you're interested in this subject, I highly recommend that you get this book. I'll leave a link in the description for those who are interested in it. But anyway, for the purpose of this exercise, I want to just read a little section from this book. This is from chapter 5, and it's on page 98 of the hardcover edition, and it's under a section called Basic Alien Biology. Until now, how aliens obtain fuel has been a mystery. My earlier research showed that alien biology was different from human biology, but with no obvious sign of ingesting food, one could easily surmise that these beings were robot-like, stamped out by a die with an internal power source. One of Allison Reed's abduction experiences gave me the key to the puzzle. I just want to stop there for a second. Allison Reed is the name of the name that's being used by one of the people that he had hypnotized and had regressed her memory so he could figure out what was going on. But anyway, continuing. During a 4.5 day abduction, a hybrid took Allison to rejoin her escort, who had been with her since the beginning of the abduction. The hybrid mistakenly took Allison into a room that apparently was off limits. It was large, circular, and had a vaulted ceiling. Allison saw approximately 40 tanks filled with liquid in a horseshoe arrangement around the circular wall. She heard a humming sound and saw a yellow light streaming to the center of the room from the ceiling. And Jacobs asked Allison Reed, "So what happens next then? You walk in there, you absorb this scene?" And she responded, "The light in the center, it withdraws. I'm standing there for a while. Eventually the light in the center, it kind of sucks itself up. It goes into the ceiling. Now these things, tanks, they're like tilted back just so ever so slightly, but randomly they'll sit front, and then the water, the liquid just goes. It just goes. I don't know where it goes. It just goes. It may be sucked into. I don't know. Do you hear a gurgling sound or anything?" Jacobs asked her, and she responded, "I hear whoosh." They are sitting back at an angle, and every time one is moved ever so much forward, it goes whoosh, like that. Then it's forward and the liquid is dissipated. It's gone. I don't see like a hose coming out of the top. And then Jacobs asks her, "Now this happens when the light withdraws?" And she responds, "Right. The light withdraws first, the yellow round thing in the center, but then it's like intermittently. They don't all sit up together at once and everybody comes piling out. It's more like randomly one will pop up here, there, from this side, that side. Some are in longer and some come out." And then he asks her what happens then. And then she responds, "Well, some of them, they start to come out. They come out." And then he asks, "How do they come out?" And she says, "They walk right through it." "They walk through it," he asks. "They don't open the door or anything?" And she says, "No." And then Jacob says, "They walk right through the glass, in other words?" And she says, "Right, just like they do at my house." And then Jacobs asked her, "Are they surprised to see you, or do they just go about their business, or what do they do when they come out?" And she responds, "They just walk past me. They walk past me, and I'm waiting there. Isn't this stupid? I'm waiting there for this gray guy. I'm so stupid. Why do I do that? I'm remembering this, and I'd like to beat myself over the head. I'm such a jerk. Any other time, I'm bitching that I want to run away from them, and here I stand waiting for him." And then later, it states here, when Allison's escort walked up to her, he was shocked to see her there. For him, the shock was compounded because she was wearing hybrid clothes. He quickly told Allison that they would have to go back to the shower room and return the clothes. And then she states, "After I get that understanding that I could have caused problems for myself, I say to him, 'What were you doing? What were you doing in there?' I think it, he just puts it off like eating and sleeping, like it's so simple. It sounds too simple to be right, but that's what I understand." And then now Jacobs writes, "If this is true, it suggests that aliens obtain their fuel by absorption through their skin rather than by ingestion. The absorption theory is supported by reports of fetuses floating in tanks in incubatoriums. Many fetuses do not have umbilical cords, suggesting that they do not receive nourishment from a placenta. And then he ends this chapter by stating, thus, whatever the specific and still unknown biological processes, we now know that aliens obtain fuel differently from humans, that their skin has a unique function, and that they convert food to energy very differently. But these are mere glimpses into alien life and biology, and the reason we do not know more is that the aliens do not want us to know. They have implemented a policy of secrecy that has effectively prevented us from understanding them or their intentions. Secrecy is the cornerstone upon which the abduction phenomenon rests. The success of the alien agenda depends upon it. Now, I wanted to bring that up because now, I guess the question here is, what are they absorbing into their skin? What kind of nourishment is in this liquid that apparently is absorbed through their skin? Now, actually, when you think about this, before we even go further, I just want to point out that, these beings, the way they've been described, they don't have teeth. And they have just some sort of their mouths are very small. They just have like a membrane in there. It looks like a gum. So it doesn't look like they really could chew anything. So have a liquid diet sounds reasonable with regard to these creatures. And also, I guess they get it through absorption rather than through their eating through the mouth. So, and that's very interesting. Well, now, anyway, I just want to shift gears here a little bit and talk about what is in this nourishment. Now, I recently talked to a former government engineer who worked with a bunch of different programs for NASA, for DARPA, a bunch of different, the CIA, different organizations. And this person wants to remain anonymous, and I have used some of his. This person has sent me several documents where he has provided his theories, and I recently was given another one, and it's with regard to his theory that basically the cattle mutilations, as he stated before, were the reason that they're doing this is that they need the blood for food. They're feeding on cattle. These beings are basically like insects, and they feed on cattle. And this person also believes that actually some people who are mutilated, there's human beings who get mutilated by these beings, and perhaps that these creatures are also feeding on human blood. And as we also know, it's not just cattle. It seems to be mostly cattle that's turns up mutilated all the time. But there's been other animals. There's been horses. There's been deer. There's all sorts of animals that have been found in this condition where they seem to have been sliced up with precision lasers, and there's not a drop of blood inside their bodies. So anyway, I received this document, and I'll share this document with you right now. This is the former engineer, NASA engineer, who is now retired, and this is what he states. Obviously, all living creatures require nourishment. They have to consume something. Generally, creatures that consume plant material have evolved large molar-like teeth, and carnivores have evolved sharper teeth intended for shredding and tearing flesh. In the case of the greys, from all accounts, they have very small mouths and few, if any, teeth. This indicates that they are adapted to subsist on a liquid diet. I think the main thing they want from cattle is the blood. Maybe the only reason they take certain body parts is for genetic samples. I just want to stop there for a minute, as a lot of people who have researched the cattle mutilation phenomenon understand. It's not just the blood they take. The tongues are cut out. The eyes are gouged out. The udders are missing. I mean, there's just different portions of the bodies that are just missing. Anyway, continuing. I think the main reason I think the main thing they want from cattle is the blood. Maybe the only reason they take certain body parts is for genetic samples. They might be sending it back home to their buddies to clone cattle from. It would make sense that they would send home samples of any animal they happen to find that could be used to increase the food supply back on their home planet. And if the trip takes a while, it would be a lot more efficient to just send DNA samples and then try to ship a bunch of live cows. Perhaps that's the reason they also take human DNA to be sent back to their home planet, along with the samples from the cattle. I wouldn't like to guess what that's used for. Maybe they collect specimens for a nice little interplanetary zoo. Now, this person has also stated that the belief that these beings are here to colonize the planet. I think that's what's going on. I think that they're. They could be sending some things back home to try to do this, like this person states, like genetic samples. But or maybe they're taken to other planets, not their home planet. I mean, who knows what's going on exactly? But the fact of the matter is, these beings are definitely stealing blood from cattle. We know that for a fact, and apparently there's been cases involving humans, and there's also cases involving other animals. So and I don't know what they do with the blood before they consume it, before they absorb it, but it looks like it could possibly be, if this is true, if this theory is true, that they mix it in some sort of fluid, or they do something with it, and then somehow they stand in this room and it somehow gets absorbed into their bodies. That makes sense. I mean, if considering what they look like, and these things are insect-like. I mean, now some people say that there's some reptilians involved here too. Actually, if you read Jacob's books, he thinks a lot of, like, he thinks that there could be reptilians, but for the most part, he thinks that sometimes people the same descriptions are provided, and yet some people say they're insect-like, and then some people will say they're reptilians. I don't know. I don't know what the case is. I mean, it's again, like Jacob states, they don't want us to know. That the whole thing here is all about secrecy. They don't want us to know what they're up to, what they're doing, and they're just keeping it quiet. And but this is interesting. So unlike us, they absorb their food, and apparently their food could possibly be blood. And I guess when you really think about all of this, is it that bad? Is this such a bad thing? I mean, look at us. Look at the human race. I mean, I ate a hamburger yesterday. I eat meat all the time. So should we be upset about this? No, I don't think we should. But however, we should be concerned about what's going on here. Like, what's the end game? What's the end game? I mean, what's going on here with this hybridization program that, basically is laid out, on a platter in books like The Threat? It could be very bade. I mean, again, from their point of view, and like I stated this before, it could just be indifference. Like we really don't mean much to them, but our planet could mean a lot to them, and that's why. This could be a concern for us in the long run. Like, I mean, if like the book, The Threat, ends with there's something big going to happen at some point soon. Okay, this book came out in 1998, so there's something soon. It's well over 20 years now. We're still waiting for this something soon. Okay, at least 25 years, I would say, because I'm sure some of these cases that he's talking about in here were from the early 90s, mid 90s. And then the book gets published in 98, so now we're in 2022, so it has to be over 25 years ago. But something soon to an extraterrestrial race that most definitely traveled ridiculous amounts through the galaxy to get here, soon could mean a whole different thing than what it would mean to us. Soon to us means like tomorrow or next week, or maybe even 6 months from now, or maybe even a year. Soon to an extraterrestrial could mean 50 years, 100 years. I mean, who knows? But anyhow, so think about that. It looks like they're absorbing their nourishment through the skin, and could be blood, maybe even ours.